We were trying to find people that had fire, that had a spirit, that had a dream that they were trying to accomplish. Carl Sassenrath, the guy that did the exec for the machine, he, was his lifelong dream to do a multitasking operating system that would be a work of art, that would be a thing of beauty. Dale Luck, the guy that did the graphics, this was his undying dream since he was in college to do this incredible graphic stuff. And we were looking for people with that kind of passion, that kind of spirit, and more than anything else, the thing that we were looking for was someone that was for people who were trying to make a mark on the world, not just in the industry, but on the world in general. We're trying to get we're trying to look for people that really wanted to make a statement, that really wanted to do an incredibly great thing, not someone who was just looking for a job.
In what we call the software cave, which was a room I'd say about 30 feet by 15 feet or 20 feet. I started about in August of '83. There was no hardware still. There was just some drawings on a whiteboard. Most of the hardware in terms of the Blitter, the Agnes chip, the Porsche chip, and the Daphne chip had already been designed. Now those Daphne and Porsche you probably may not have heard of, but those were earlier versions of the Denise and Paula chip.
We had the board all laid out and everything, and all the architecture based on 512K RAM. Commodore came around and said, "Can't you make a 256K RAM? 512K RAM is so expensive today." I said, "Look, RAM is going to come down." Said, "No." I said, "Well, it can't be done. I'm sorry." So I just went off. I went off. I come back a week later, find out, guess who told him how to do it? Guess who actually did it for him, made 256K. You know that plug-in on the front? Here's the culprit right here. I've never forgiven him for that.
PC came out at 16. Okay, the original PCs were coming out at 16K. And I had a PC at home, and so I was praying, Jay, make it 64K at least. Please, 64K at least.
512K from the start in terms of socket capability. Right. Okay? Right. Now, you don't have to plug all those chips in if you want to make it cheaper. Right. But at least you got the holes there that the guy can plug them into later. And the architecture with that as a basis for the software. You follow me? But no, the cost of those sockets were about 3 cents a piece. And that was too expensive for Commodore and other people.
I owned an IBM PC at home, and I programmed on the IBM PC. And when I crashed my IBM PC, the screen went dark, and it would reboot sometimes, or you'd have to turn it off, actually, and turn it back on. And about that same time, the Macintosh, was coming out, and they had this little bomb. I'd heard about their little bomb that came up on the screen. I thought, that's kind of interesting, coming up with some sort of indication that your software failed, that your machine failed. And I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, you're going to have a sense of humor. If your machine fails like this, it's like, and you've lost 2 hours worth of editing, you're going to want to laugh about this somehow. So we put it in there. The machine crashed then for Martin Shabilsky, I think, in his office. The machine crashed, and he saw this thing come up. It said Guru Meditation. And he said, "What is this? Take this out right now." and so I took it out, and it said software failure. And all of a sudden, so a new version of the system went out that said software failure, and everyone was like depressed. Well, it was like, put the Guru Meditation back in. And so we did it without permission. We just put it back in.
That's right. All the developers, what did you do? It's a software failure. What is that? So we just put it back. We didn't ask. We just did it.
I can remember one of the first the large users group meetings I went to, where people would go up there and they'd show their programs, their software that they wrote in front of the group. And of course, whenever it would crash, the Guru Meditation would come up, and everyone would be chanting Guru, Guru, Guru. Now they wouldn't be chanting software failure.
We made a lot of design decisions that were wrong. if you say we're selling a personal computer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we decided that we wanted the graphics to run fast. So it never checked. It would go out and it'd say, give me some memory. And it would never check to see if it got it. It just assumed it got it. And so if we didn't have 512 memory, we'd it'd crash and you get a GRU meditation error. And, you know, on retrospect, those were mistakes. If we were, you know, building a personal computer, we'd be sure to not do that now.
Like the original color scheme of the Amiga, there are a lot of people that don't like the white with the blue background. We sat there with TVs to try and figure out what colors on NTSC wouldn't just bleed horribly as you made the transition from the foreground color to the background color. And it turns out those colors work great.
Well, I had 3 monitors on my desk so I could check everything. I had the Sony we used because it had crisp graphics. I had a TV so that we'd see how badly it blurred. And I had that IBM 2-color thing just so we could see how badly it looked in 2 colors.
Do you remember some of the cheesy TVs we had?
No.
Joe Schlag TV Company.
We went out and literally, we needed to test how the video would look on television. So we went out and we bought 10 televisions. And we went into this video store, I think it was the Good Guys or somebody, and we said, we want your worst TV. And the guy sort of looks at us and he says, well, okay, these guys don't really want the worst TV. And they say, we've got this great TV on sale. It's $279. And we say, no, you don't understand. I don't want a good TV on sale. I want the worst TV set you got in the store. And he sort of looks at us and says, well, this one's $375, and it's terrible. Great, we'll take it. Yeah. Wait, I should tell a Rob story. Rob Peck was my roommate, and this was a guy. He had an excellent talent. Rob Peck's talent was he could go into an engineer, get 5 minutes of explanation, and write a technical manual that was good.
He took so much abuse from us during those so much abuse. Get out of my office right now. You know?
I remember when you were writing Graphicraft and Rob and we were putting together the manual, but the program hasn't been written yet.
And then I had to turn around and make the program look exactly like those pictures.
A third-party vendor was doing this painting program they were going to call Graphicraft, and it was coming out pretty bad. And the only reasonable solution was to get someone who was going to be able to do it right. But you couldn't go find another company. You couldn't get, and there was all kinds of things got in the way with getting the job done. So Archie just did it. He went into his room and he did it.
It was after 3 weeks of writing Intuition. He closed the door. The door opened once. I remember it. The door opened once. The door closed.
And all those chicken bones came out.
And he came out and he came into my office and he said, how do message ports work? So he went into a conference room. I explained message ports. He went back to his room. He closed the door. And like a week and a half later, he opened the door and Intuition was done. And then there was Graphicraft. And it was like the next week it was Graphicraft. Closed the door. And then 3 weeks later, he opened the door and Graphicraft was running and you could use it.
There we were, working furiously designing this machine. Software guys with absolutely no hardware whatsoever to develop on. The hardware guys working like maniacs trying to get the hardware to work, failing miserably. The software guys were filled with glee. Because we got to take vacations, you know. We're sitting out in the back smoking cigarettes, enjoying ourselves, you know. And no, I'm just kidding. We, in the software group, actually, were not willing to wait around for the hardware to come together, so we spent a lot of time pretending that we had hardware. And the way that we did that most often was to create little pieces of software that emulated the way the hardware would work, emulated the way those 3 custom chips would work. And it was starting to get real important for all of this stuff to come together well, because this is now getting on to the end of 1983, and we were starting to run out of money. It was starting to get pretty tight with money, and it became really apparent to us that we had to make a major showing of the stuff that we had done so far at the January CES show.